What's going on, guys? It's Argon here. Today I want to talk to you about Infinite Warfare. Before I get into today's video, I want to give a quick shout out to Jeremy Frash and Brandon Hayward, showing up in the comment section early. Shout out to you guys. Thanks for supporting the channel so much. So let's talk about Infinite Warfare. I mean, it's no surprise, it's no secret, it's not the most popular Call of Duty of all time. It's definitely done poorly in terms of, I would say player count. Player count is probably fair. It's definitely gotten a negative reputation in the community, but we're not here to talk about its reputation. Let's just assume, and we already know it to be fact, that it's not very popular and it's gotten a lot of hate over its time as the active Call of Duty that we've been playing. Was the game itself doomed from the start because it was just set up to fail? Now, I believe that's let's say the failure of Infinite Warfare. I don't want to call it failure because it obviously made a bunch of money. It's a fun game. I enjoy the game. I know a lot of people that love the game a lot as well. But like any Call of Duty, it's frustrating. But in general, it has not done as well as games like Black Ops 3 or Black Ops 2 or Modern Warfare 3 or these other Call of Duties that have been kind of fan favorites. If we think about why exactly this happened, I can kind of break it down for you very simply, and it's a sequence of events that kind of led to this situation to happen. The first thing that happened was the game had a very terrible launch. Right from the original, everybody remembers the trailer that aired on YouTube, and it had like an amazing number of dislikes. It's probably the most disliked video of all time. It's actually currently sitting at the second most disliked video of all time. It's a very disliked video. In addition to that, people kind of came in with a bad attitude about it. A lot of the reviews were negative. During the beta, a lot of the big YouTubers that supported Call of Duty came out and said, I don't like this Call of Duty, I'm not a fan of it, blah, 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 blah. A lot of different reasons during the beta, so it kind of started everybody off on the wrong foot. Okay, so let's say you guys didn't play the beta and you want to go pick up the game for the first time. It's kind of like if you meet somebody in person that you've never met before in your life, and one of your friends is like, hey man, this guy really sucks, I don't really like him too much. You're probably gonna you're probably not gonna like the guy. If anything, it's gonna be really hard for that guy to get on your good side. So that's kind of what happened with Infinite Warfare, and to make matters worse, it didn't do well for itself in terms of the things that people were expecting, and they just really were critical of the game. Like, there was no leaderboards, no custom emblems, and then people got really fed up with them dropping a ton of camos, a ton of new variants into the quartermaster system, and that all came out before the leaderboard situation got sorted out. So it was just kind of like a lot of negativity around the game at launch that just really drove people away. In yesterday's video, one thing I talked about in terms of Black Ops 3 that made the game so good was the second year of its life cycle. There was so much DLC content that made you want to keep playing the game. Now, DLC content in Infinite Warfare didn't do well. It's not designed to be successful. The problem is, they actually listen to us. When we complain about having weapons in supply drops that you can't get other than in a supply drop, they listen to us. So now, because there's variants, they decided to put variants in the supply drops, but every base weapon is available to every single person in the game. You don't have to buy a season pass. You don't have to get it from a supply drop. You can grind out, and the contracts or whatever the challenges are to get to these weapons are really simple. So like right off the bat, if you bought the season pass like a lot of people do, you got every DLC weapon the day it dropped, no questions asked. Now you could, grind for variants or whatever, but you could try out the weapon and decide if you wanted it. And they did so much balancing of these weapons that very few of them are even out of balance. There are some variants, I'm looking at you, Yokai, that were a little bit more, OP than others. But for the most part, the base guns were really well balanced. So if you picked it up, tried it out, didn't like it, went back to your K-bar, you were good. The recurring theme here is there's no grind aspect to Call of Duty. That's what made Black Ops 3 so appealing, so endearing, so charming. It made you stay with the game. Not only was there no reason to grind for weapons or keys, when there was contracts, they were super weak, very easy to complete. Literally, you could complete a contract within an hour max. You know what I mean? Like if you really tried. If you go to Black Ops 3, you want to do a triple play or a grand slam, you're going to be grinding that for several days. You probably got to squad up with some people, and you're going to be grinding for a solid, 8 to 12 hours, just winning non-stop. So that's a serious grind. There's no such thing as that in any of these Infinite Warfare contracts. You're just going to go in, they'll say do 1,000 damage, you're done. You could do that in 5 games, literally. Super easy, you don't need to party up. So they just didn't give you enough grind content for the game to be interesting. So what was left? Well, luckily for Infinite Warfare, there was nuke variants. If it wasn't for nukes, honestly, this game would have been dead. There was almost zero content available to play multiplayer in this game. Zombies wasn't all that popular. So yeah, the nuke was really all that it came down to. The deatomizer strike is what kept people coming back to the game, coming back to the game, coming back to the game. Now, They didn't do themselves any favors in that category either. They assigned DAT variants to specific variants of the guns. So if you're only going to go for DATs, you only need that variant of gun. There's almost no reason to ever have a non-DAT gun. What happens there? I don't use any of my salvage. I don't use any of my keys. It all just stacks up. Again, the grind aspect is gone. I don't care if I get salvage. At one point I had like 15,000 salvage. I didn't care. I didn't need it. It was irrelevant. You wouldn't have had that. If you had an option in BO3 to have a salvage component that you could use to get weapons, believe me, people would be using that. Everybody would be running on 0 salvage almost all the time. So that's where they messed up too. This should have had the nuke or DAT variant not be on a variant. It should have just been a regular gun streak and you could have got it with any gun. And that would have made the game so much more better. Then you'd see people grinding out for these other weapon variants, trying to complete their quartermaster collections, and there's just no reason to do that right now. So was IW doomed from the start? I think so. I think even if it would have got no negative press, I still think it wouldn't have done as well as BO3. It would have gone stale because there's just nothing there, and I think that we are a lot to blame for that. The fact that we complain about loot crates or supply drops and we don't want things to be just in quartermaster, that came, we got this result. We got variants, which led to really no desire to go for anything. On top of the variants being irrelevant unless they were for nukes, they were really balanced. An epic gun was not that overpowered compared to, the base one or a rare one, other than the yokai. And a few exceptions, yes, they were better, but there was balance. The flatline had infinite range, sounds awesome, throw a silencer on it, nobody sees you on the minimap, but it fires slower, you know what I mean? So it's situational. The balance aspect there just made the epics not worth going for. Personally, if you're gonna have variants in a game, I think they need to be OP. That's the whole point of them. When somebody picked up an Obsidian Steed in Advanced Warfare, they were OP. That's the point of the gun. So when you got the gun, you could use it, you enjoyed it, and you never put it back down. So hopefully this, version of Call of Duty doesn't occur again, because it really made the game stale for everybody. Hopefully there's better things like, they follow the BO3 model that I talked about in yesterday's video. The next time the Infinity Ward game comes around, hopefully it'll be different. Hopefully it'll be more set up like BO3 so we can have more content, more things to keep ourselves occupied, and make the game interesting. So that's going to do it for this video, guys. If you enjoyed, please do leave a like. If you haven't yet, don't forget to subscribe. And if you're not following me on social media, all the links are in the description of this video. And as always, guys, my name is Argon, and I'll see you next time. Peace.